I just got reported at my local gym for approaching girls and trying to get dates. And I want to tell you about the story of what just happened and what it means. If this is the first time you're seeing me, I started this channel about 3 weeks ago with for the purpose of documenting my journey and tackling my approach anxiety of actually cold approaching girls in public when, attractive girls, when I see them, to compliment them, so I can get rid of the fucking dating apps and stop relying on dating apps, because dating apps don't work. They're disgusting and gross and awful, and it's just like a graveyard of lost connection potential. And so about 3 weeks ago, I started actually doing this, of facing my fucking lifelong fear of cold approaching girls and, complimenting them in a socially calibrated way. I always name the context, to put myself at ease, maybe put her at ease as well. But because I spend so much time in the gym, I'm in the gym sort of 4 to 6 days a week, often for 2 hours at a time. I spend a lot of time in the gym, and obviously there's loads of attractive people in the gym, but obviously this is a really, really highly sensitive environment when it comes to approaching. It's kind of like the biggest taboo thing when it comes to approaching. But I've approached like over 30 girls in various gyms around my country. I live in New Zealand. I've approached, probably over 30 girls. I've approached nearly 70 women in about 3 or 4 weeks. And because I spend so much time in the gym, probably half of those have been in the gym. And so I wanted to say at the outset that, I've had really hardcore approach anxiety, especially when it comes to approaching girls in the gym. And what that means is that I've felt so hesitant because it's so fucking taboo. It's like, I don't want to be a creep. I know that women are there to work out. They're not there to be approached. They're not there to be harassed or any of that sort of thing. And so I've had really bad approach anxiety for years when it comes to approaching girls at all, but especially in the gym. But because I spend so much time in the gym, and because I've been actually tackling my approach anxiety day to day, well, I plucked up the courage and started actually doing it, and that includes in the gym. The first one I did in the gym I was so fucking nervous, man. I was so scared. I had to like detach my legs from my body and actually force my legs to move in her direction. It's the worst feeling ever. There's people around, like, what are people going to think? People are going to, think that I'm a creep. Are people going to think this? People are going to think that. What's she going to think? Like, am I going to get fucking banned? Blah, blah, blah. All of the mental chatter that has stopped me for years. And if you can relate to this, it's probably stopped you too. And I think that the problem with this is that I'd never really done it before. I'd heard, I think my mind has got all of this conditioning around that it's wrong to approach girls in the gym. For, that that's creepy, that women want to be left in peace, that all of the reasons to not do it. Like, that's been my reasons, and I want to put that out there just for some context, that just so you know, like, I'm not somebody who just in the past has mindlessly been running after every girl that I see. Okay? I've been hamstrung massively by approach anxiety for so long, but I realized, like, I need to do something about this because dating apps are not working, right? Dating apps are just a bunch of bullshit. I'm not going to go into all the reasons why I fucking hate dating apps. But when I first did this first approach a few weeks ago, and I did approach this girl, and I said, excuse me, and I got down to eye level because she was like sitting on a machine on the ground. And I said, excuse me, I know that it could be weird to approach in the gym. I'm actually really nervous right now because I've never done this before, but I just saw you there and I thought you were super gorgeous, and I knew I would regret it for the rest of my day if I didn't say something to you. And like halfway through my opening sentence, my anxiety was pretty much gone because I was talking to another human being. And she actually blushed and said thank you, and a really nice little conversation ensued. She was not creeped out at all. She said, I was about to introduce myself, and she said, I actually got married a month ago. And I was like, oh, congratulations, that's awesome. And we had like a little 2-minute conversation, and that was that. Nobody got hurt. Nobody was creeped out. And that was probably one of the first like first experiences of actually approaching a girl in the gym, and it was completely different to how I thought that would go. And it totally changed my whole brain, to be honest. And so I started doing this more, and I kept having similar experiences of it not being creepy, of people around me not really taking any notice of me, you know, because I was just like approaching someone to introduce myself and say hello, and that I thought that they were really attractive, that they were really beautiful, not necessarily wanting anything in response, you know, not really needing anything. And so way more often than not, this actually went really well. And so my approach anxiety actually started to diminish. It started to lessen dramatically. And so, yeah, over the last few weeks, my approach anxiety has been getting less and less and less. And so I've been doing lots and lots of approaches. And so it's weird because, like, I just got a call, and people have been saying on my channel that I'm going to get reported and banned in the gym if I keep doing this, that the gym's not a bar, that the gym's not a place to do this, when actually I know that, like, of course it's like a taboo thing, but I think it can be. And I think a lot of the reason that people say that the gym is not a place to do that is, well, a because they're scared that, you know, that I'm encouraging like creepy guys to actually, that it's just some sort of like meat market, when it is like a sacred place. And so, yeah, there is like, this is the difficulty with this channel, is because like my ideal audience is men that are mature. And the problem with that is that I can't control that. I know that there's going to be that fucking many idiots out there, creeps, right, who have no social skills, no empathy. I don't know. And to me, like, that's such a weird world to relate to, because I don't feel like that's me at all. I've had fucking crippling approach anxiety for so long, which actually proves to me that I'm not a creep. Because, like, creeps aren't people who care so much about making people feel uncomfortable that they don't even approach at all. I realized I can't keep living like this. I can't keep living in fear, you know, of my own masculinity, of my own feelings of attraction. It's not fucking working. I need to actually get out there and start talking to girls. And yeah, while you can say, like, we'll go to bars and go to clubs, or like, I don't really drink alcohol. I don't really like drinking alcohol. I don't have the time to be going out. I've got so much going on in my life at the moment that I don't have the time to be going out I'm never out specifically looking for a girlfriend. I'm in the gym to work out. You know, I'm not there hunting girls or looking for girls. It's not like that at all. You know, if I see an attractive girl in the middle of when I'm working out, I'm only going to approach if, like, I'm in a rest break and she's in a rest break and neither of us are actually busy, and it's probably only going to be a 2-minute conversation at most. I mean, I did have like a 10-minute conversation with a girl I approached the other day because neither of us were busy, and it was a really enjoyable conversation. If you're still with me, I know that I've deviated a lot from the topic of this title, and so I appreciate if you're still with me. I just got a call from my local gym where I spent the last week, I spent 6 days in there last week working out, you know, roughly 2 hours a day. And I need to be completely honest with my audience about what happened, my audience here, about what those reports were actually about. Because I think if you're curious about cold approaching and you have approach anxiety, and, you know, certainly if you have approach anxiety around, you know, you feel uncertain about approaching girls in the gym, well, I've been encouraging my listeners and my viewers here to just go for it, but to do it in a socially calibrated way since I started this channel. And I still encourage you to do that. And so I just got a call from the owner of my local gym, and he said, "Hi Rowan, we've had two complaints, two reports of you. We've had some reports of you approaching girls in the gym to get dates." That's what he said, to get dates. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I have actually been, you know, working on tackling my approach anxiety lately, so I don't just have to fucking rely on dating apps. But when I'm actually like approaching girls in public, and that includes in the gym, I'm not really doing it to get dates. It's more just to like give a girl a compliment and see how she responds. And if a conversation ensues, then great. And if it doesn't, there's no worries at all. And his response to that was really interesting, because he was like, I actually think that he respected the hustle, to be honest. He said to me, he's like, I know how hard it is out there, to find people, because it is. If you've used dating apps, then you'll know, like, it's so hard to actually, I mean, again, yeah, you could go to clubs, you could go to bars, but people are fucking drunk. I just hate those environments. I'd way rather meet people just naturally out and about. But anyway, so the first report that he got, and I feel it's really vulnerable sharing this like all over on YouTube, because the first report that he got, there was this girl that I approached in the gym the other day, and when I had approach anxiety because it was like peak time, and as soon as I crouched down to talk to her and say, hey, excuse me, as soon as I'd done that and she looked up, I realized that she had braces, and I realized that she was really young, that she was like, I don't know, 16, 17. And I was like, whoa. And in my head, I made a snap decision, because I didn't really know what else to do, because I'd already said, hey, excuse me. And so I just made a snap decision and complimented her before saying like, have a nice day, and walked away. But apparently that made her feel uncomfortable, and understandably, right? That's understandably going to make her feel uncomfortable. I mean, I've fucking got gray hairs all over my body. I'm in my 30s, so of course that's going to make her feel uncomfortable. And the lesson for me here is to actually have more of a look, if I'm actually going to approach somebody, make sure first that at least that they're a fucking adult. I feel really embarrassed about this, because I didn't mean to cause anybody harm. And, I'm still learning, like, I'm not perfect on this journey, obviously. But yeah, she told her parents, and her parents called the gym to complain, and rightly so, and understandably. And so I'm sorry that I did that. And it's a lesson. And I actually did a video a few weeks ago called with the title "Hold Your Gaze," and it's really, I think this is actually a really important. It's an opportunity for me to learn from my own content, which is to not avert your eye contact out of approach anxiety, because that's what I was doing in this moment. It was peak time, and I had approach anxiety, and I kept sort of stealing glances. But because I kept stealing glances, I didn't really give myself a real enough opportunity to see that this girl was actually not old enough for me to approach her. And if I'd actually had the balls to not look away, I would have realized that she was underage, and I wouldn't have approached. But the second story is really, really important for guys out there if you have approach anxiety. Because if you have approach anxiety, and especially when it comes to in general, but the gym is like a classic place for this. Approach anxiety, in my experience, is not really about fear of rejection. It's about fear of social humiliation. It's about fear of what the people around you and around her are going to think about your approach, and that they're going to judge you. That it's those people that are going to think that you're a creep. It's those people that are going to think that, you're harassing her or something like that. So in this particular approach, the gym owner, when he rang me, he told me that the second complaint that he got was about a girl who was in her 20s, and he even said to me, he was like, yeah, so it's not really that bad. But apparently what happened, it wasn't even her that complained. It was somebody who saw me making the approach. And I actually, if it's the person that I'm thinking of, I remember this. I had like zero approach anxiety. This was only a couple of days ago. I went over there. As soon as she walked past me, I recognized how gorgeous she was. And when I finished my set, I went up to her, no approach anxiety, no hesitation, because I've been doing this so much. And I went up there, again, like no approach anxiety. It felt so good, because I knew that, like, I knew that I didn't really want anything. I just wanted to pay her a compliment. And I did. I said, excuse me. And as soon as I said, excuse me, there was a girl, a couple meters behind her on a treadmill that turned around and, saw me crouching down and taking an AirPod out. And she did a double take. This girl on the treadmill did a double take and and I noticed her doing a double take and it felt like she was judging me. But what's so interesting is that the girl that I was actually approaching, there was no, I could tell from her energy that she wasn't creeped out or anything. She was thankful. She blushed and she thanked me for the compliment. We introduced each other and, she kind of looked like she wanted to get on with her workout. And so I wished her a nice day and left her to it. There was no creepy vibes at all. And so the reason that this story is important is because this is like approach anxiety made manifest. Somebody who saw me make an approach was the person that actually reported me to my gym. But talk about Karen culture. I mean, she wasn't even involved with the approach. She wasn't a direct party to the energy exchange between me and the girl that I approached. And if she had been, she would have realized that there was nothing to fear. There was no harm. And so, to be honest, okay, the first story, of course, I need to practice that. I need to get, it's not so much get better at guessing people's ages, but just take a little bit more time before rushing into approach. Look first, just fucking make sure, that it's basically appropriate to approach. But the second one, where some Karen reported me, I mean, fuck's sake. I told the gym manager that I'd just focus on my training in the gym for a while, just because I don't want to fucking get banned from the gym. But he even said to me, I know how hard it is out there. Dating apps don't fucking work. And so, again, I'm standing by my original thing. Fuck what other people think. If that Karen that reported me has, she wasn't even there to be a part of what was actually going on between me and the girl that I was approaching. And again, if she had been, I think she would have probably felt quite differently about it. All she would have seen, she would have turned around, seen some guy approaching a girl, and any kind of baggage that girl that saw me doing that, any baggage that she had about it would have been activated, and her mind filled up the situation with all of that baggage. That's exactly what happens when men have approach anxiety. They see an attractive girl and their mind fills up with all of their own baggage about why it's not appropriate to approach. But when you actually start doing it, you'll realize that it mostly is, or it certainly can be, more often than not in my experience. But because this particular Karen wasn't actually involved in it, her mind's projections won at the end of the day. She didn't get the chance to actually have those projections of her own corrected by reality. And so if you're listening to this and, you've got approach anxiety about approaching girls in the gym, I'm sorry, I'm standing by it. I still think because I've had way more positive experiences. Even the girl, this report that came through, it wasn't even about her. She wasn't the one that made the report, right? So I know that I'm beating a bit of a dead horse here, but this is obviously a pretty sensitive topic. It certainly is for me. It's not that I'm only approaching girls in the gym. It's just that I spend so much time in the gym, and most 90% or more of the approaches that I have done in the gym since starting this YouTube channel have gone very positively. And so I don't care what you say. If 90% or more of those approaches have gone positively, and that is precisely because of the way that I have done it. I have gone up to her and said, in a moment that was not socially inappropriate, she wasn't mid-set, she wasn't mid-conversation, she wasn't fucking, actively, you know, hugging her boyfriend or something like that. I did it in a moment, you know, where she was by herself or with a friend, and not in the middle of a set, and just said, hey, excuse me, I know we're in the gym right now and it can be weird to approach in the gym, but I just saw you and I thought that you were absolutely gorgeous, and I knew that I would regret it for the rest of my day if I didn't say something to you. I will die on this hill. If that is creepy, man, I don't give a fuck what you say. I will get reported. I will get banned. I will go to my grave before, as a man, I'm expected to like not be a man and actually compliment beautiful people in a non-needy, non-creepy, socially calibrated way. Fuck that. That's bullshit. And you know what? The owner of this gym who called me up, I think he actually understood that. He did say to me, look, I know that lots of gyms are where people hook up and stuff, but this one's not. We just focus on our training. I mean, of course he's going to say that because he doesn't want his gym to get a reputation as of just like a meat market. But I could hear in his voice when he was saying this to me that this is not the end of the world. This is just like, you know, yeah, okay, I shouldn't have approached a 16-year-old. Of course. And as soon as I was speaking to her, I realized that I was making a mistake, and I just made a snap decision to get out of the situation as quickly as possible. You got to roll with the punches, man. Like when it comes to cold approaching, there is some risk to it. You can't really get around that. But we're talking about dating and we're talking about courtship here. You know, it wouldn't be like romantic stories wouldn't be as exciting as they are if everything was without risk. That's what makes cold approaching such a powerful way of actually meeting people. Think about it. If you meet someone on a dating app and, you know, then for the rest of your lives, the rest of your relationship together, people ask you, oh, so how did you guys meet? And it's like, we swiped right on each other on fucking Tinder or Bumble, you know? Bullshit. Whereas it's like, oh, how did you guys meet? He approached me in public in the middle of fill in the blank, you know, while I was doing my groceries or while I was in between a set of squats in the gym. He actually had the balls to come up to me and say, hey, I know that we're in the gym right now, or I know you're just doing your groceries, but like I just noticed you and I thought that you were absolutely gorgeous. I had to come and introduce myself to you because I knew I'd regret it if I didn't. If you're like 20 years into a relationship or a marriage with someone and that's your story, that's so much, it's infinitely more romantic than we swiped right on a dating app. And that's what makes cold approaching such a powerful way. That's what makes you stand out if you actually do this. So there is risk to it, but that's what makes it special. If you've watched this far, if you're still with me, thank you so much for your time and attention. I just got this call before and I needed to get it off my chest. And even though it feels really scary and vulnerable, disclosing some of this information on the internet, I needed to get it off my chest and share it with my audience. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.